mm, 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 mm. Join in if you so wish. You can even mirror us, or you can do it whatever way you want. If you want to do it exactly the same way as us, then you'll put your left arm on top of your right arm and your right baby finger on top of your left. If you want to mirror, which is how it's taught in yoga, that the student mirrors the teacher, then you'll put your right arm on top of your left and your left baby finger on top of your right. And then stretch it out, sink it in and bring it up to your chest. And just breathe normally, your normal, exhaling all the breath. And then inhaling. You might exhale from your mouth, you might exhale from your nose. You might inhale for your mouth, you might inhale for your nose. Just observe your breath and breathe. And on your next inhalation, I want you to take an inhalation through whatever you weren't naturally taking an inhalation. So if you took an inhalation through your nose, take an inhalation through your mouth. If you took an inhalation through your mouth, take an inhalation through your nose, whichever one you didn't do naturally. And sigh on the exhalation. So now I would just like you to observe. We invite you to observe, if you're choosing to join in, how you are sitting. We are sitting with one leg over another, cross-legged. We're not relaxed, one leg's lifted up, and we just changed the pattern of that. But our feet were in a certain way. So when we started initially and we were sitting cross-legged, our left heel and our toe was on the floor and our toes were up. And the other leg that was on top, the toes were pointing up and the heels were pointing down. So then when we swapped legs, the heel of the right foot now is on the floor and the toes are pointing up. And our toes were pointing up and our heel down, but now we've just changed it so that our toes are pointing down. Only you know your habitual patterns in your body. Only you know your habitual patterns in your internal world with your internal dialogue. It's mighty hard work changing our belief systems, our perceptions, especially if we find language complicated or have any kind of challenges that seem so out there from the so-called norm of society, how the systems function. But one way of changing our habitual patterns in our mind, our habitual patterns in our body, is to literally change the patterns in the body. Start having a laugh. See how complicated it is when you have time, which lots of people tend to have time at the moment because there's still quite a few people in lockdown because of the C word. Start cleaning your teeth with the opposite hand. Open the door with the opposite hand. Attempt to eat with your opposite hand. What side of the mouth do you chew on? Do you chew on both? Acknowledge your patterns in life through your body. When you start shifting your patterns in life through your body, you slow down. And you also start shifting that habitual patterned alignment in your body, which then moves up and has an effect on your mind and your brain and your thoughts. So if you're finding it hard to align your head and your heart and your body, this is one of our tips to you. Bring yourself back to your breath and your body. Make an assumption here, but no doubt you probably listen to our words from your mind then, your conscious mind. Another tip is attempt to listen from your body. Rather than always listening from your conscious mind, give your conscious mind a break. What did your body say? How does the physical sensations in your body feel? And if you are to do your feelings, how do you feel when you listen to people through your body? Do you like what they say? Does it feel good in your body? Does it make you cringe? Do you not want to be there, but you're staying there? This is the yoga mudra for integration. When we do have new awareness, we can then do a yoga mudra to join the circuits of our body, to really embed the new patterning that's different to the old patterning. And you just breathe normally until you feel a shift. Welcome to the Shinto yoga experience with Shinto self-empowerment. Namaste, I'm Zanoni Snowflake. We are currently navigating ourselves through what's more commonly known as the dark night of the soul. Isn't the soul meant to be pure? We heard someone call it the dark night of the ego not so long ago, which is a lot more fitting. But as our little dudes like to call it, we call it the shadow dance of life. And what we present on all of our channels are our tools to navigate through the shadow dance of life. Most of them fun, some of them not so fun. Out loud reading helps us develop our language skills, a range of vocabulary, how to structure sentences, and I think how to maybe even structure a book. We never thought we'd be able to write a book for our dyslexia, but who knows what may happen or come about. I know we're capable of a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. And I bet you are too. So, this is us incorporating all 8 limbs of yoga into our everyday life, every aspect of our being in our everyday life. The first limb of yoga is your yamas, your external moral conduct. Your second limb of yoga is your niyamas, second internal moral conduct. Your third limb of yoga is the asanas, most commonly in the Western world known postures, the positions you put your body in. The fourth limb of yoga is pranayama, prana's energy, rhythmic breath control. What we've discovered is the only thing that our body does not lie about. The breath is what yokes the mind to the body, the mind to the heart, the mind, body, heart to the cosmos, the multiverse, to oneness. Breath is life force energy. Pranayama, rhythmic breath control. The fifth limb of yoga, pratyahara. Do you know the Bob Marley song? Release yourself from mental slavery, emancipation, whatever. Freedom from the desires of your senses. By all means, not to cut out your senses and the pleasures that they offer. It's why we incarnate into a human body, to experience through our physical senses, but also our most important 6th multi-energetic sense, which has got about 8, which I've heard of. They call it clairvoyancy, claircognizance, all the psychic abilities. You coming up here, darling? Pratyahara, freedom from the desires of the senses. You can enjoy, but you don't need it. You know when to say no. You can say no, but you know when to enjoy and have pleasure. The 6th limb of yoga, dharana, concentration, pinpointed focused concentration on one thing. That's what we've been taught. But on our personal journey, with our DID, to keep us calm and focused on this journey of involution, since we surrendered fully to whatever was needed in everyone's highest good, and Mother Gaia's, ours, others, the cosmos, the planet, on the 11th of the 11th, 2019. Boy, has it taken us on some journeys, one of them being inside a psych ward. So for us, because there's a few of us, we've had like 4 or 5 or 6 or more pinpointed focus attention at once. So it's whatever it is for you. You need to discover your own experience. You need to live your own experience. The rest, every other book and knowledge is out there as guidelines to share people's experiences so you can take what serves you and what doesn't serve you in that moment. Dharana, concentration. Dhyana, your 7th limb of yoga. We're just going to rewind a bit. First limb of yoga, your yamas, your external moral conduct. 1, beginnings. 2, patience. Choices that brings balance. Niyamas, your internal moral conduct. 3, creative expansion, expanded creativity. Your asanas, postures. 4, foundation, structure, stability, perseverance. You need a lot of that. Pranayama, life force energy, rhythmic breath control. Don't like the word control, but we've not got anything to replace for that yet. The main reason people get affected by illnesses is because the human bodies don't know how to breathe properly anymore. We don't listen to our body. We don't listen to our breath. We don't know how to. 4, foundation, pranayama, rhythmic breath control. 5, change, the only constant in life. Freedom. Freedom comes from change, changing the patternings. Repattern, repattern, repattern. Pratyahara. 5, change, freedom, pratyahara, freedom from the desires of the senses. 6, unconditional love. The center point of balance before it gets split off into 2, which is 12, male complex stability. 6, unconditional love. Dharana, concentration. When we unconditionally love ourselves, we concentrate on ourselves. And then we can give other people unconditional love by concentrating on them and listening to them from our whole body and our heart. 6, unconditional love. Dharana, concentration. 7, personal growth. Very spiritual number. Dhyana, meditation. And meditation is just focusing your attention, concentrating on one thing or 2 things or 3 things if you've got DID, but it's giving it your all. It doesn't have to be sit there and cross-legged when cross-legged's uncomfortable with your fingers in Om. We don't sit there and cross-legged, but we do a lot of that Om, or we do it backwards. Om. But we didn't start that way. We started getting stoned doing it because we couldn't focus, we couldn't concentrate, we couldn't get still. Getting stoned for us was getting us still. That was our key. That was our access point. But we surrendered ourselves to not having that now. We haven't had it in any form for quite a while. Mind you, quite a while. I don't know how long that is because time's a funny concept. But I'd guess it's anywhere from a week to 2. But before that, it's only been in milk. I'm sure we've done about a month now without even having a vape. And before that, it got down to like 1 or 2 vapes a week. But who cares? Why not? If it's helping us surrender a bit and easing the physical pain. Because it's whether you're using it or if it's using you. And it's not about addiction. It's about a lack of connection. Your heart and your body wants you to reconnect with it. 7, personal growth, meditation, active, still, dancing, singing, writing, movement, nature. Meditation, 7, personal growth. To 8, manifestation. samadhi, self-realization. Only when we truly understand ourselves can we manifest into the physical reality our wildest dreams. Self-realization doesn't mean that we are suddenly this be-all and end-all enlightened being that does whatever. It means understanding ourselves completely in that present moment of our needs, of the needs around us, as always having the intention of our highest good and others' highest good and Mother Gaia's highest good in our heart. At least, that's where we are with our current understanding and awareness and knowledge. We've still got a little while to go, but I don't think it's too far now. In and out of these states of consciousness, dissociating between the altars, but witnessing the way things are going and how we're feeling, to how this last 14, 15 months have been on this journey of involution after surrendering to whatever is needed and where it's taken us. The feelings of who we felt like we've lost. But none of that matters, because we are finding ourselves. And we're starting fully to feel what it's like to live life. I suppose that saying life begins at 40 really is true, isn't it? As soon as we had our 40th in the psych ward, and it's not long until we're 41. 41, 14 backwards, moderation. Drugs are good in moderation. We didn't say that. Don't listen to that. I think what's meant by that is anything is absolutely fine in moderation. It's just whether it's using you or you're using it. We're on the biggest playground around Earth, here to have fun and experience consciousness, to experience from so many different, authentic, unique perspectives of what it's like to be human, to have fun, to play, to know thyself. And yeah, so we're going to stop there. Yoga sound, yoga of the body, yoga of word. I think we'll be getting out some of our homework that we did for our teacher training on yoga. Of course, we misunderstood it the first time round, so we had to do it a second time. I don't know if we misunderstood it because the teacher wasn't clear in what she said, or if we didn't hear all that she said. Probably a combination of both. But no matter, we produced a very good written piece of work of self-understanding to start with, which gains more self-realization. And then we did it how it was meant, aimed at a student. So yeah, it looks like that's going to be coming back out soon. Probably after we finish this marathon reading journey. We're on our yoga books, of which we have masses, so it won't be all of them. Our yoga books and our cooking books tomorrow, I think. And we can't get through all the ones that they want today, but there has been a new selection piled up. So the fear book. Yeah, welcome to the ShintoSE yoga experience. Being completely authentic and raw and unedited and organic in showing you our process of navigating through our shadow dance with life. With us at number one position of what this is about, so we can witness and observe ourselves, because we can't change our actions or our words or what we're doing if we don't know what they are. And if our internal model, our internal processing model is deaf, blind and dumb, where does one start? But some of our beautiful altars that still have access to that the conscious eyes at the moment that are talking don't, produce something beautiful. And we fully had to experience, we've always had to experience stuff to make it feel real, to make it relative, to understand. And that's saying one has to go insane in the membrane before they can truly find sanity. We so need to change our attachments to words and language It's so limiting. The future's hopeful. The future's magical. And I feel that to the core of my being. The Fear Book, Facing Fear Once and For All, by CHERI, author of the Depression book, designed and illustrated by Shiver. As strange as this might sound, we don't have to take our feelings personally. We don't have to take our feelings personally. It might be helpful to keep a journal of your investigation of a specific fear. The Adventures of John and the 10-Story Building. Sensations, thoughts, emotions, beliefs. The Adventure of John and the 10-Story Building. Sensations, thoughts, emotions, beliefs. Choose your own titles if it feels better. Don't ever do anything that's not easy-ish, because sometimes this journey is a challenge. You could write down what your sequence of steps will be. Just imagining the building, then driving there, then going up to it, then going into the elevator and closing the door, then going up to the top, and then finally to the edge. And you would write down what you wanted to be looking at. The sensations, the thoughts, the emotions, the beliefs. Now, welcome, Grandma Moon. Now you are ready. Thank you for all you've done for us. We drink her water, crystal charged, sunlight cleansed, full on new moon. Now you are ready to address your fear of heights. Not to get over the fear, not to learn to be all right in high places, not to change or fix yourself. You are doing this to bring the light of conscious awareness to the subject of fear. You're going to demystify the whole subject of fear. You are going to learn to be the mentor you always wished you had. You are going to embrace the part of you who is afraid and has always felt alone and abandoned and unsupported. Yes, please. Perhaps at the end of this fascinating journey, you will be relaxed and comfortable at any height. Perhaps not. The result is not the point. Compassionate awareness is the point. And so you begin, insert petito mo, shaito, pita. And so you begin. You decide you're going to go to the top of the 10-story building. It might take several stages before you actually go anywhere. Just sitting and thinking about it might be enough to bring up the fear. If so, start there. You could set up a time each day to work with the fear. Just a few minutes might be enough at the beginning. Maybe just a few seconds. That's ours. Shh. They don't need to do that. Remember, we're going to edit it all out eventually. Oh, yeah. So, yeah? Okay. Thank you. Do this so that the fear doesn't assault you every time you're not paying attention. And notice that that is exactly how it happens. You're right there watching, and it's hard to find the fear. Turn your attention away and zap! Paz, paz, zap! The voices try to scare you to death. The procedure is the same each time. You take whatever step will bring up the fear. Perhaps now you drive to the building and sit in your car in the parking lot. And just be with whatever happens. You are watching, seeing ever more subtle levels. Really, hearing what the voices are saying, seeing the belief systems behind the voices, watching your emotions react to the voices. Or where we needed to start, because the rest of it was too much for us, feeling the sensations, the physical sensations in the body. It becomes so familiar, you could map the whole process. We're mapping it! Yeah, I think we are, my lovelies. I think we are. Well done. Thank you for speaking up. I do this, then I feel that, and then I say that, and then I feel such and such, and then not many mysteries left at this point. It's all pretty predictable stuff. So you have become completely familiar with the whole process of fear. And yet, the thought of standing looking over the edge of that building still starts the voices shrieking, I can't! That's okay. We are not trying to make it to the edge of the building. We are finding out about the tyrant named fear. Now, remember the 5th of November. I've got to let it out because it's better out than in. This is a spiritual process. So when we catch this little beast, we're not going to destroy it. We're going to embrace it. Give it a hug. Send it some love. Shine your light on them. Shine your light on your darkness. Because that's where pure creation exists. We're going to include it in our acceptance and our compassion. Because evolution inwards is involution, which sounds like involved to us. We're going to love it into extinction. The trap of right and wrong. Student, I was hoping to come here today and get some answers, but you keep asking us questions and all I hear you telling us is the same old thing. Pay attention. Pay attention. Ugh. I'm disappointed that that's what it's about. I want to figure out how to get over the fear. And sitting on the cushion doesn't do it for me. I know you're saying there isn't a right way, but I'm convinced there must be. Guide. The conviction that there is a right way is one of the processes fear uses to protect itself. Since there really isn't a right way, believing there is a way of staying stuck, not of seeing the fear. It keeps you caught up in looking for the right way instead of looking at what is really going on. Okay, right, wrong, good, bad, left, right. It's all the world of duality, separation, dissociation. Not the path of oneness, isness, nowness. Student, but I don't see what's going on. It sounds exciting when you describe it, but none of that happens when I'm just sitting there and I get bored. Guide. It is boring to egocentricity. Relearnt. People who get bored are just living their lives on adrenaline. We used to get bored all the time, hence again smoking the weed. We didn't start at a young age. It wasn't until we were about 19 that we regularly started smoking it. And even then it wasn't really regularly. Not that I can really fully remember it, actually, to be honest. So we don't like to say things so assertively if we're not 100% sure. But as the years progressed, it got more and more because we were struggling more and more. It is boring to egocentricity. Student, I'm getting tired of sitting on the cushion because I don't pay attention most of the time, and this voice keeps telling me I'm doing it wrong. Guide, What are you doing when you're sitting there? Student, I'm breathing. I'm trying to see how to disidentify. But really, I think I'm waiting for the period to be over and not paying attention at all. Guide. What are you paying attention to when you're not paying attention? How do you know you're not paying attention? Student. I'm thinking of things I need to do when I leave here. Guide. Ah. So when you're sitting there on the cushion, what you're paying attention to is things you need to do later. And you believe that's doing it wrong because you should be paying attention to something else? Student. Yes, I should be paying attention to my breathing and the sensations in my body. Isn't that the right way to do it? Guide. This is really good for all of us because it's that belief system that there really is a right way to do it that keeps us from simply being present to what is going on. That keeps us from simply being present to what is going on. But we don't see that belief system because we're immersed in it. This is really good for all of us because it's that belief system that there really is a right way to do it that keeps us from simply being present to what is going on. But we don't see that belief system because we're immersed in it. Student. I do see that I'm caught in a belief system because as soon as you said that, I thought, okay, the right way to do it is that there is no right way to do it. Guide. It's not that trying to do it right is the wrong way to do it. It's just that trying to do it right keeps us stuck. If we think, I have to let go of this right-wrong continuum, we're right back on it. Finding ourselves caught in this trap over and over and over and over and over can be really frustrating. Student. Yes. And then I just feel sick of the whole thing. Guide. And that frustration keeps us in the same place. What the frustration signals, same with boredom, is that we are getting perilously close to seeing through all of this. Everything needs to intensify, so we will turn our attention to the frustration itself, the boredom itself, the fear itself, whatever is there and away from the right-wrong trap. Student. For me, it's more like rage than frustration. So should I turn my attention to the rage instead of the right and wrong? Guide. A shortcut, at least intellectually, is to get it that there is nothing wrong with anything. It's the comparisons that keep us stuck. So if you want to know what's going on, turn your attention to that, not comparing it with some other way it should be. When rage is there, turn your attention to rage. When boredom is there, turn your attention to boredom. When frustration is there, turn your attention to frustration. Student. And when I'm distracted? Guide. Turn your attention to distraction. Student. I have this theory that everything in me is fear-based, or I wouldn't be so desperate to always figure out the right way. I think that if fear weren't driving me, things would just be okay. But my belief is that without fear, I would make a big mess of my life. Guide. Without fear, things would just be what they are. When we are centered, nothing is personal. So there is no idea of fault or blame or control over what happens. The reason fear keeps such a tight grip on us is that we believe there is a right way for things to be. But we think that finding the right way to do everything will protect us and we won't have to be afraid. Student. I'm getting excited about this because I think I'm hearing something very different in the whole idea of paying attention. It's not a means to an end, which is the way I've been thinking about it. If I just pay attention, I'll get the answer. I'll get an answer. But it is the end itself. I remember you saying that paying attention is freedom. So I'm getting the sense of living in that process rather than getting something out of it. I'm getting excited about this because I think I'm hearing something very different in the whole idea of paying attention. It's not a means to an end, which is the way I've been thinking about it. If I just pay attention, I'll get an answer. But it is the end itself. I remember you saying that paying attention is freedom. So I'm getting the sense of living in that process rather than getting something out of it. Guide. Exactly. Well put. Student. And so the duality comes together, the process and the content, because paying attention to the content becomes the process. And the process itself becomes content. Guide. The same eyes with which I see God, God sees me. We've put a link to this book down below in the information on this one. It's to a UK and Amazon link. We're not affiliated. We just want to make your life easier if you want to buy the book yourself, because it's very different listening to something to reading something and referring back to. Plus, we read it in a very unique way, not just the way the book is. Worry, fear, and negativity do not stop life from happening. Situation, possibility, 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 question mark. Situation. There's no point in asking for a raise. I'm sure I won't get one. Possibility. You ask and you do not get raise. Possibility. You ask and you do get a raise. Possibility. You don't ask and you get fired for not being assertive. Question mark. Blank space to fill in. Situation. She's in college now, but if I let her have a car, she might have an accident. Possibility. You get her a car and she has an accident. Possibility. You get her a car and she does not have an accident. Possibility. You do not get her a car and she has an accident on her bicycle. Blank space. Question mark. Situation. I really want out of our relationship, but if I say anything, I'm afraid he'll be really hurt. Possibility. You say something and he's really hurt. Possibility. You don't say anything and live in misery. Possibility. You say something and he acts relieved. Question mark, blank space. It becomes an adventure to see what happens when I do the thing I fear and when I don't do it. Watching very carefully sensations to emotions to thoughts to beliefs. Everything about it. There is a slight little movement and a whole chain of events is activated. Where does it start? What do I believe about this? What happens if I say yes? What happens if I say no? What do I think this reveals about me? I watch myself say, this is boring. I've seen this so many times. Or I hate this. I don't want to do this. Watching the same old thing over and over and over and over. And eventually realizing that none of it means anything. And realizing that when we are present, nothing is ever the same old thing. That's an asterisk next to that last bit. Student. Most of my fears center around right, wrong. Also, will I do it right? How can I be sure it's right? These questions are fueled by endless replays of all the things I've done wrong. Today, I was trying to come back to the moment rather than go with these imaginary scenes from the future and rehashings of the past. The voices would begin to say things like, if you don't try to do the right thing, if you're not concerned about understanding how life works, you're no different from an animal. You're no different from that bug down there. A scarab beetle! They're really spiritual. Magical. Guide. As if one more beating about something that's past or one more rehearsal for a scene that is never going to happen is going to enable you finally to accomplish the impossible. To know how something is going to turn out before it happens. The ultimate illusion of control. Once again, if I were to come up to you and begin recounting all of the most difficult periods of your life, pointing out how you could have done that, or you should have done that, or if only you'd thought of that, or taken that approach, and then coaching you on all the ways you should approach your life in the future, what would your response be? Would you think, I like you, cared about you, had your best interests at heart? I hope not. I hope you would wonder what my game was. What on earth could motivate me to want you to feel bad about yourself? Could it possibly be a way of gaining power over you? A way of having control over you? Very likely. So, the next time that voice starts trying to convince you that you should leave the peace and comfort of the present moment to wander around with it in the world of past or future calamities. So, the next time that voice starts trying to convince you that you should leave the peace and comfort of the present moment to wander around with it in the world of past or future calamities, you might just give it a polite, no thank you, and invite it to come sit quietly here in the safety of this moment with you. Fear of making a mistake. From centre, there is no such thing as a mistake. From off-centre, illusion of separation, almost everything we do, feel, say, achieve, should be bigger and better than it is. I'm always in a hurry. It feels like everything is urgent. I must work and move as fast as possible, or I won't get everything done. And, as a result, something bad will happen. The important thing is to be with the urgency instead of letting it dictate, E-T-A-T-C-I-D, 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 E-T-A-T-C-I-D. E.T. phone home, first video we got off Auntie Mary. No, Dean got that, remember? We got Lady and the Tramp. Oh yeah, E.T. phone home. At kid, dictate. The important thing is to be with the urgency instead of letting it dictate what you're going to do to satisfy it. Turn your attention around and focus directly on the urgency. Time on my table, and the momo. Stuff going on with our scar again on the head. Yeah. And shoulder. It's not too bad though, is it? Not too bad, no. Scar more of a good release. Not like when it was ripping itself apart before the psych ward. That's a good sign, isn't it? Yeah. Why is that? Because it means we're not going in there ever again. That makes us happy, doesn't it? Yeah. Well done. You know we didn't belong in there, don't you? Yeah. But you understand why we had to have that experience? Yeah. Well done. The important thing is to be with the urgency instead of letting it dictate what you're going to do to satisfy it. Turn your attention around and focus directly on the urgency. Ask urgency the same questions you would ask boredom and frustration. Speaking in public. Student. For years, I have struggled with speaking in front of groups. I can force myself to do it, but the problem persists. I observe and observe that fear, but I feel I could observe forever and it would make no difference. Guide. If the relationship to fear does not change, it's a clue that we are not observing what needs to be observed. It's like watching the magician's hand and missing what's really happening. Also, as long as we're expecting a particular outcome, it doesn't work. It won't work to observe the part of me who fears speaking in groups if my motivation is to stop being that way. What I need to know is the process that is at work here. Then it won't matter whether I speak or not. Generally, when someone has trouble speaking, it's because there was some sort of trauma. A-M-U-A-R-T, 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 what? What? Trauma. Generally, when someone has trouble speaking, it's because there was some sort of trauma. Children tend to be naturally expressive until something stops them. So, my guess is that there's a part of you who was traumatized, and that's just covered up. What we're doing is seeing how fear protects itself. Surrounding our identity are layers of protection, and we're removing them so we can see how it all works. If you continue to be uncomfortable talking, that doesn't mean something is wrong. It just means you haven't seen what there is to see. Student. What if I never see it? Guide. The part of you who asks that hopes you never will. Let's say you had a child who was kidnapped from your house. You devote your life to finding this child. Someone says, "What if you never find the child?" Wouldn't your response be something like, "What is the point of such a question? I'm not going to quit looking just because I might not find my child. Clearly, my chances are better if I keep looking." It's not that your life is a failure if you don't find the child or a success if you do. You're just looking because the child is missing, and finding the child is what you're trying to do. So in the same way, you are looking simply because you are looking. Student. I'm wondering if it would be good to try to force myself. Guide. When you have observed the processes involved enough to know what is really going on. What happens physiologically, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally, and you are present to yourself in that situation, you will have given that part of yourself enough freedom that he will speak spontaneously. You are providing a safe environment for him so that when he expresses himself, he just expresses himself. We can break out of the circle of suffering by being for ourselves what was missing when we were children. Someone to listen. Someone to be there with us as we struggle. Someone. Someone who accepts us no matter what. We can break out of the circle of suffering by being for ourselves what was missing when we were children. Someone to listen, someone to be there with us as we struggle, someone who accepts us no matter what. We can break out of the circle of suffering by being there for ourselves. What was missing when we were children? Someone to listen, someone to be there with us when we struggle, someone who accepts us no matter what. We need to stop taking ourselves personally. We need to see that we are simply human beings, and this is what happens to human beings. This is how human beings operate. We come into the world with the ability to experience ourselves as separate, our own particular experience of being separate from all that is. The what of it, the content, is just another boring little story, except to ourselves. I grew up with these people and they did this to me, and then that happened and I tried to cope, but it didn't work, and I became a victim to that. We could go around the room and each plug in our own story about how it was. But it's so difficult to stand back enough from the content to see the process. Once I see that this is just the process of being a human being, I have a chance of not taking it all so personally. I didn't create this. I was born into it. So why should I spend my life punishing myself for being a human being? The punishment is another process with which fear protects itself. As long as I am caught in believing that this is right and that is wrong, and this makes me a good person and that makes me a bad person, I am completely enmeshed in egocentricity. Once I realised that this is just a waste of time and that duality, the world of opposites, is simply a way of staying stuck in suffering, then I have a chance of stepping back, of disidentifying enough to get out of that system by not taking myself personally. Now I can just observe how a human being operates, see what's going on. Now, I have a chance of moving into being a compassionate mentor for myself. There is a motivation to move into that place to end suffering, to help all beings. The fastest way to stay identified is to be in our heads. I don't understand. That doesn't make sense. What about this? What if this happens? I need to be careful of that. Worrying that something terrible might happen prevents me from noticing what is already happening, which is that I am actively maintaining the fear that is stifling me. It's projection at work again. The very system I am projecting out onto other people is the system that is operating me. I'm the one who maintains this, and then I remain a victim to it. The ski slope, mentoring myself. Yeah, we loved snowboarding, didn't we? Skiing didn't work for us, did it? Why not? We could do it. We can tell when things release in us, because Zen releases. You can curl up into a real tight ball when things get a bit much. But we felt a release in our body then, down in our left sit bone. And it's all kind of going on up here at the moment as well, if you hadn't have noticed. But yeah, he just had a big stretch, literally just as we had the release. So it's like, yay. And he doesn't often come up here and be this close to us. I love him. I think the skiing didn't work because of our dissociation of the alters in the physical body, and they hold different networks in the nervous system. So with snowboarding, your legs function as one and they're joined together in one piece. So it actually brought us together as a one in the body. And plus, we had some amazing experience out there, and we were actually accepted by a lot of people, and we discovered lots of different identities. There was this one guy, a doorman, on the so we actually got hunted. We didn't look for this job. He came to us, which was a compliment, although probably down the line he probably wishes he didn't, like everyone. And so this bar didn't get busy till like 1 a.m. So, you'd finish anywhere from 5 a.m. It's not like that now. They've changed the licensing laws, but you'd finish anywhere from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. And if you didn't get on a bender afterwards, you might get home about anywhere from, 8 to 10, and then get a few hours kip until maybe 2, depending how noisy the house got. And one of his things was, so he was in the pub up just up the bar just up the way, another late night bar. And he would say, one of his things was he loved like dressing people up. He loved his fashion. He loved his style. And he said, and I said, so I was curious, well, what would you do for us then? And he's like, oh, I couldn't. I was like, oh, he goes, well, because it's at the end of this lane. So we'd be like, he says, you've always got something different going on. Whether you come down with your Princess Leia, with your hat on, or with your hair down, like cycling down on our bike. He says, you just got so many different styles. I just couldn't do it for you. So, I mean, it all makes sense now, but we were obviously, a lot of us, well, it's a newer country. It's not so inhibited. You haven't got all the prejudgments and assessments. So I didn't feel their internal feelings, which is obviously a gift of us that we've always had and we didn't know about it. So when you're embraced with new people, you're a new person and they haven't got any preconceptions or judgments or assumptions about you to fit into that drama triangle game. Boy, we wanted to stay out there. That was that was a big one. Why are we going back over there? We're happy here. And it's like, well, we can't run away from our problems. We have to go back to where it all happened to sort out our problems, and stuck here for the next. When did we get back? 2017, 14 years ago. That's okay. It's all going to work out. We're going to be really rich because the more money one has, not because we want to be rich and famous, but the more money one has, the more money one has to give away. And we've got some beautiful humanitarian aid, amazing ideas and concepts that can be put into place. And we'll be able to buy land in lots of different countries. We're serious as well. And it just feels more and more real. I suppose we're so lucky to have all this and the trauma. No, we are. We're not supposed. We know we're lucky because it's always about see things from a child's perspective again. Look for a child's eyes. How on earth are you meant to do that? I wouldn't have had a clue unless I'd gone through this journey. And in this journey, the way it works is the networks in the body and the brain. I'm literally a baby again. I can't talk. I'm literally seeing from a 2-year-old's eyes and whatever. I still don't quite know what goes on because I haven't had kids. I don't know how they see. But you see, that's when we dance through the chakras. We dance through the chakras from different ages. And if one has an optimally healthy lifestyle, then they dance through them beautifully and they get aligned beautifully and they meet a beautiful, respectful lover and they have beautiful kids and the process goes on again. But when you have kids, you get a chance to work through the chakras a second time. So you're experiencing from your perception of your kids, seeing through their lives, seeing through their experiences, the way they do things, the way they learn. And it will trigger stuff in yourself, whether you're consciously aware or not consciously aware of it. So if you had traumas around the ages of 7, when your kid hits 7, it's going to stir things up in you. And you may not realize if you haven't done the self-awareness journey at all and you don't know about any of this, but your relationship may start getting tricky with your child. And we haven't had children. We thought we'd be inseminated in our 30s if we hadn't met a men because we so desperately wanted to be a mum. But our belief systems changed. We couldn't even get an animal. We couldn't even get a cat because we didn't want to be selfish, because we knew it was because we were lonely and we needed companionship. It was years before we got a cat, and then it was only because someone said something, and then we got Dakota, and it was the best thing for us. And he was amazing, and he loved us, and he lived with us in the van, and he came on coastal path walks with us, and we gave him his freedom. I think we knew he was going to die early, because we always had the motto with him, which we don't have Zendaya. We've had the fear of Zendaya. We had the fear of Zendaya that he was going to die early too. But we didn't have this knowing motto that we don't know how long we've got him for. We have to appreciate him every day. And he taught us so much. We'd put a drink of lemon, honey, and ginger down on the floor in the van, and there'd be this inkling, don't put it there. Zen will probably knock it over. But we don't do anything about it, and Zen knocks it over. And then we shout at Zen for knocking it over. Not Zen, we shout at Dakota for knocking it over. And then we shout at ourselves, don't shout at him, it's not his fault, it's your fault. You should have moved it when you should have moved it. All things you can't do when you're with someone else, because you've been brought up with a belief system that if you talk out loud, you're crazy. But if you're someone that can't process it internally, you need to talk out loud. Didn't realise quite how it got. But then I wouldn't have been able to realise quite how, with the DID, how it impacted us because of more belief systems. The belief system it's selfish to kill yourself. The belief system it's you can't describe your feelings or talk about it because you get put in a mental hospital. The belief system, well, we've sure been through it all now. I mean, we were the best survivor before any of this. Now we're like up there. And now now we understand energy like we do, subatomic energy like we do, and energy on a basics, but we'll just develop it because we've got that child thirst for learning and knowledge that the school education system knocks out of you and puts the fear in you, especially if you learn differently in any kind of way and then can't vocalize it, but you're intelligent enough to be able to get by, so you don't get any extra support. But you put in like 200-300% effort and you drain yourself and you come out with B's and C's, maybe the odd A and F's and E's. I don't think we ever got an F, actually. Well, I think we feel like we've got an F because we've failed in lots of things and haven't started loads of things and haven't actually qualified. But then we know that failures and mistakes are our biggest teachers again, and lessons. We've lost it again, haven't we? So yeah, we like snowboarding, but it messed up our knees. And when you go snowboarding after you've not slept for however long, I think they have herbal highs out there. They're disgusting. But I think there was like 3 days that we didn't sleep for. We worked and we snowboarded. Intoxicated, obviously. It's not a way to live. I think we pickled ourselves. And then we stopped it. We stopped drugs, like, when did we stop drugs? 2011, 2012. So we've been completely off drugs for like 8-9 years. Well, we don't classify weed as drugs. We classify that as self-medication, and it's man-made. Not man-made, it's God-made. But it still is a drug, because I suppose a drug's any kind of thing that gives you an altered state of consciousness. But then who's to define and who's to make up the rules? What's different between man-made drugs and natural drugs? Drugs that are prescribed for you as medication and drugs that people take to self-medicate for recreational use. Why is someone that takes drugs for recreational use and gets addicted to them shunned upon and put down to someone that takes medication that's prescribed to the doctor? We live in a world and a society of this dividing between rich and poor, between what's acceptable, not acceptable. All this judgment. I'm gonna leave it there because it just it's why we gave up news a long time ago. We gave up news like when we went to Sunrise off grid and we discovered positive news, and the lady who writes positive news said a story about her husband and getting depressed. And like, if you're depressed, please, number one thing, stop listening to the news. Stop listening to the radio and the news. Stop reading the newspaper. If you want news, read something like positive news. And know that if anything serious out there happens, you'll be made aware of it by someone. because it's all the way that media not only portrays their information and delivers their information, not just in word form and the way of the bias of the company that's doing it or the government and rest of it, blah, 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 but even down to the kilohertz of the sound frequency that they deliver it to you in through radio and sound and media. One simple thing of changing all media from 440 hertz to 432 hertz would have a massive impact on the whole of the world. Why is it not done? That just baffles us in our head. But that's because we're lucky to have had the traumas we've had, to have stunted our ego at 4 years old of empowerment and play. DID, dissociative identity disorder, the new terminology for multiple personality disorder, which is not all in the head, not if it's manifested itself into the physical body. And I can say that not from someone else's theory, not from someone else's knowledge, not from someone else's experience. I can say that adamantly from our own experiences, from our own truth, from my Zanoni Snowflake Passau's own truth, because Zanoni Snowflake Passau I can say I too, because she has got all of this going on. And it's a beautiful gift, a hard gift, but a beautiful one. And it's a genius coping mechanism of dealing with childhood trauma, because all children are born with the capabilities of being a genius. And we welcome these Saturn energies, because Saturn is the planet. Saturn and Jupiter are planets both in Aquarius at the moment. And Saturn's about limitation, contraction, the physical reality, because matter is energy really compressed and really condensed to make physical matter. And Jupiter is the expansion of the energy. Luck, growth, not luck, we don't like that, but growth and expansion. So if you've got these two planets in Aquarius, the age of technology, friendship, community, the age of Aquarius, humanitarian aid worker, which we're a triple, sun, moon, internal world, external world, our south node, north node, Leo, rising sign, Leo, Virgo cusp, 29 degrees, 29 equals 11. Then the energies at the moment, which will affect everyone and anyone, whether you're hypersensitive and can feel it or not, just because you can't feel it does not mean it's not affecting you. So we've got the energies of dense matter and contraction of Saturn, which manifests into physical reality and really makes you see the world how it is. And Jupiter, expansion, infinity, anything is possible, dancing together. So there's this push and this pull, this in every direction of your life going on. The ebb and the flow, the oscillations of the atom, the oscillation of each atom together making up the molecule, to make up the cell, to make up your cellular community of your systems in your body, respiratory, digestive, reproduction, to make up your most amazing bioorganic computer. So you have to dance with these energies. You have to get used to the change, going, pulling, coming, backwards, forwards, up, down, left, right, until you can get the oscillation of your cellular community, your atomic community, atoms being the physical matter world, Saturn, subatomic being Jupiter, the expansion, the limitation, water being the intelligence that can dance between the two. Water in its liquid form will fill whatever container it's in. Or you can heat it up and it gets quick and it boils up and it expands into steam and becomes lighter. Let's raise our vibration. How did Jesus walk on water? Or you freeze it and you make it cold and you condense it down even more and it becomes rigid and solid. We're going to stop there now. We're sure I've found our passion and what sparks our fire and our heart, haven't we? The ski slope, mentoring myself, finding our own inner guru, finding our heart, finding our breath that connects our heart, body and mind, heart, body and brain, which then connects every mind membrane of every cell in your body. Every little cell in our body is happy. Every little cell in our body is well. Every little cell in our body is happy. Every little cell in our body is well. We're so glad every little cell in our body is happy and well. We're so glad every little cell in our body is happy and well. I took up downhill skiing to celebrate my entrance into the 6th decade of my life. I had many motivations. One of the primary ones being a commitment to continuing to do new and potentially scary or dangerous things. I do this for all the reasons suggested in this book, and because I work with people on things that are very scary to them, but are no longer scary to me. I don't want to lose touch with being scared because it would be too easy to forget what it is like to feel threatened. Becoming an expert can make us insensitive to those who don't yet have expertise. And we can forget that we're an expert only in our little area. Being a nervous beginner can keep the compassion and humility exercised. I'm always depressed. Get over it. My first time out on the slope was with a friend who, though not a skier, is an extraordinary athlete. During the course of the day, I wound up in some places I should not have been in. I took some bad falls and generally hurt myself a lot. I decided lessons were in order. With lessons, I improved until I could do well enough to have a good time. We're the visionary and the architect and the builder. And it's okay, we're going to watch all our videos back through and we're going to teach ourselves editing and we've got all the material and we're just going to create amazing stuff. And we're going to get to listen to our story back because we've already done it. We just got to put it all together, got to consolidate it. Yeah, it's so good to feel your excitement, lovelies. It's a bit tiring on the jaw though, but that's good because it means it's loosening up. One day, I was skiing with a friend and my only ski instructor made me a gift of a lesson with the head instructor at the area. You'll improve dramatically, she assured me. You're ready for the next level. We never had a lesson. Did we? I don't think we did. Only our friends. You're ready for the next level. In fact, I felt no need to improve dramatically, but it was such a generous offer. I overrode that little sense of discomfort that arose with the gift. It was a disaster. We went high up onto the slope that was in deep shade and was quite icy. We've done black runs. I think we only did it once or twice. And that's only because we grew up, thank you for growing up with an older brother, 3.5 years older, because we would have never had this like compete with the male. You know, you don't really have to compete with females because females don't challenge themselves like males do. We spent a lot of time going down on our arse on ice. But boy, the powder was worse than the ice. Well, the ice was more painful and more scary in a way with the black slopes, but it's the powder that was harder on the body because when you're riding on powder, it's more like surfing and we could never surf. But that's because we never had our centre because of the DID and the body being so split. So we never had any balance. And so when you were on your back, to stay on the powder, because if you're on your front, you just like nosedive, I think. Yeah, it must be, because I think that's what happens on the surfboard, because I think that's what would happen with us on the surfboard as well. Oh my God, we can go surfing again and actually do it, and we can go snowboarding again and ride on powder and do it. Life's going to be so much fun. Sorry. Don't apologise. Okay. You can't stop grinning. We have to, because we're burning up. Okay. Whew. Talk about turning the fee around. It was a disaster. We went high up onto the slope that was in deep shade and was quite icy. I was told not to worry about what I'd been doing previously. Just follow him. 3 or 4 falls later, I thanked him and told him the lesson was over, and I was going to get down off that mountain the best way I could. It was a hard thing to say since it wasn't his fault, and I didn't want him to feel bad. I just wanted to get me out of there in one piece. We've done like big jumps and everything, not like huge jumps, but we've done some pretty good jumps too. So all these things that we have done, some of us have actually done really well because we've ridden a couple of waves in our lifetime of trying to surf. And one was quite big in Morocco, which someone saw too. But yeah, we've done some jump snowboarding too. And this is all with our body not having a center and falling apart with bad backs and stuff and bad knees. And God, you're amazing, body. So what's it going to be like when we do get our body back and we can control our body and do it all? It's just going to be incredible. Sorry, don't apologise. Yeah, okay. We're on the New Zealand book tonight, so the energy is going to be really good. That's the hitching one. Oh, breathe and relax and breathe and this is us being present. The biggest struggle was not succumbing to the voices who wanted to blame me for not listening to myself when I knew I didn't want a lesson in the first place. I suspected that was the end of skiing for me. Then, a week or so later, my grandson had a vacation day and wanted to ski. He was 9 years old and had skied less than I, so I figured I could probably manage. It's like one of them's harder to learn and one's harder to master. I think snowboarding's harder to learn, but easier to master, and skiing's easier to learn and harder to master, but then we can be backwards. But another perspective of looking at that from is that people that are more well, for us, if snowboarding was good because it made our legs function as one and it took away the separation that had divided in the body, that maybe people that like snowboarding over skiing are more separated in their body and not as connected to the heart. But no, I don't see that that's true. Yeah, because we're trying to make one thing fit and all. Of course, one thing won't fit and all. Oh, yeah. Maybe this isn't a discussion for here right now. Yeah, maybe. I gave myself absolute permission to do whatever I needed. If I wanted to snowplow all day, a beginner's tactic, I would. If it's something to do with falling on your ass, you can't really fall on your ass in skis. You get all tangled up with your legs, but you can on a snowboard. If Brian wanted to go where I couldn't go, I'd find an instructor to take him. Every second I was mentoring myself. It's okay. If you don't like it, you can quit. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You never have to ski again if you don't want to. We'll do whatever you'd like. It was the best day of skiing I've ever had. Sorry. Queen of Swords, yes. Also High Priestess vibes for sure. That's I don't know what that is. I think that's a comment to someone. But yeah, Queen of Swords. So we were on the King of Swords and the King of Cups yesterday. And today, King of Swords and High Priestess energies. I'll turn the volume down now. It was the best day of skiing I've ever had. I skied more and better than ever before. The secret is to disidentify. This all comes down to not allowing egocentricity to be in charge. First, we watch how we get hooked back into the fear. Next, we watch the process of identification as it happens. Instead of sitting in the audience and watching the magic show and wondering how it's all done, I'm sitting in the front row waiting for the magician to come on stage, and I'm looking closely at everything. Because I'm leading this investigation. I'm not a victim in this. I'm the pursuer. I can get up on stage, go around behind the magician, go behind the magician, look in from the wings. No vantage point is forbidden to me. I will probably have to go back to that show again and again, and I will probably get to see how I get distracted from my pursuit, how my attention goes elsewhere. But my aim is to see every single thing that happens. I'm not doing this for any reason other than wanting to know how it all works. It's not going to make me a better person. It's not going to get rid of anything from me. That's not the point. The point is that now I am in a different relationship to the fear. I am bringing the light of conscious awareness to the exploration of the process of fear. The content of fear, of egocentricity, is out there, in there, for you to explore. When you start out, it's as if nobody has ever been there before. And as the first explorer, you can feel a real thrill. Being an explorer is not the same as being a traveller. You are not doing this to get from point A to point Z. You are doing this for the sake of exploration. You just want to find out everything that is out there in that unknown territory. Crossed out. Territory. Crossed out. You just want to find out everything that is out there in that unknown territory. Northern Territory, Australia. Yeah, you liked it up there, didn't you? Yeah, we once sailed down that west coast. We better become rich. If you keep at it, you will know every tree, every rock, every turn in the path, because you will have gone over every inch of it, back and forth many times. If someone else shows up, you will be able to give them directions. Although, of course, we would hope that others would want to see it all for themselves. You can tell them that over there is this interesting feature, and across there is something no one would want to miss. And once you get to this place, it's easier to move on to that place. And the trip up this mountain is long and arduous, but definitely worth it. This is the attitude we bring to the exploration. Not, I've got to get to the other side as quickly and painlessly as possible. And every time I take a wrong step, it's a mistake. It has to be seen as a great adventure. We used to like doing that in the car. You never drive the same route. You always drive different routes. We started doing that in the van, but it didn't work very well in the van. We ripped off a skylight. We got the clutch burnt out. 3.5 box Luton don't do very well down on Cornish lanes when you don't know where you're going, I tell you. No, it doesn't, does it? I don't know a more effective way to be with fear than to be still with it in compassionate awareness. For me, compassionate awareness is most simply experienced in a meditation practice. A period of solitude and silence each day helps us to realize that silence, stillness, compassion are who we truly are our true nature, and that compassion is far greater and more powerful than fear. We do have to add in here now, people that have been traumatized severely, that has left this impact on the body does not like getting still. It does not like being silent. So meditation from that format and that perspective can re-traumatize you and hurt you. So please always listen to your body and always listen to your heart. And if you want to get the vibrations and the frequencies of meditation that isn't this type of meditation, then everything that we are doing is that on our channels for us, because we are aiming to this. We are aiming to this without the help of marijuana. I'm sure we'll still smoke or do or partake in marijuana down the line at some point. But you see, it doesn't matter. It's not about the end goals of that. I want to experience all the experiences and feelings that I've experienced when I've been intoxicated on drugs, not alcohol. Alcohol's made us be promiscuous. It's made us forget things even more. Whenever we drunk, we would search out drugs so that we could get our consciousness back. And I've woken up in the morning with some horrible, disrespectful, shameful feelings after a night on alcohol without drugs. At least if I've slept with people and it's been on alcohol and drugs and I can remember it, and I wake up feeling disrespectful or shameful, it's okay because I know what's gone on. And it's still not really okay, but at least I'll know what's gone on. And when you know what's gone on, it's a lot different than having no memory at all or blackouts or all kinds of things. But the main thing that drugs gave to us was losing our inhibitions, able to do fire poi and be creative and just do poi, able to feel like a genius because all my words fitted together and made these sentences and all the knowledge came together. But I know it's not good for the body. And I knew from the Randas and all the stuff that we've done that they were just the key. Just like when you fall in love with someone and they make you feel that unconditional love and you think it's due to them. They haven't. They've just opened the door inside you to your unconditional love. And the reason it doesn't work out probably in the end is because you haven't been able to reciprocate the unconditional love. Because first we need to do it to ourselves. I've always known so much. All of us have always known so much. And we've never been able to connect it to our heart or our body because of the trauma, because of the impact the trauma has had on the body. And there are so many people out there now with ignorance and denial to the impact of uneducation and unaware of the impact of trauma on the body, that they are going there online and taking people on these meditative journeys that's going to cause them harm if they don't know themselves well enough, if they are impacted in such a way similar to us. We all, every single person, especially if you're taking any kind of authoritative role, be it teacher, therapist, educator, lecturer, policeman, all of it, anyone that's in an authoritative role, doing any kind of thing that is passing on knowledge to someone else that's in a vulnerable position, especially the ones that are really vulnerable but desperate to help themselves but don't know how or where to start. We can't take loads of money off them. We can't do these things for them that could harm them more. We need to know and understand in ourselves more what's going on and more of the impact of trauma on the body. It looks like we're going to our trauma yoga books next. It's important. And I know there's people out there that don't want to be, if they were made aware that they were doing this, that they'd be distraught with themselves. Because that wouldn't be their intention or their want. I'm going to stop there now. So yeah, a period of solitude and silence. Your silence. Silent is an anagram of listen. So don't take the words literally. When it says silence, put it back to silent and change it to listen, and listen to your heart and your body, and don't do anything anyone is saying one should do, even if they're not saying it, even if it's just that's coming through their energy and their confidence and the rest of it. Always listen to yourself. Always listen to the sensations in your body and your heart best you can. And if that's telling you you're uncomfortable or you don't want to be there, but up here is telling you should be there because that's the way through and that's the way to the light and that's the way out of the pain. Listen to the body, don't listen to the head. That will save you. I hope we made that clear without too much, I don't know, whatever. I'm sure we haven't made it too much whatever because we've done it with passion of wanting you to care for yourselves. And the emotion just shows how deep how important this is to us from the experiences that we've experienced. But this is our purpose in life. We're the rare of the rare, the anomaly of the anomaly. Not many would be able to go through all that we've gone through, and that's not being big-headed. It's so that we could get to this point and completely, transparently, authentically, with integrity, show our vulnerability, down to be stripped naked in every sense of the word, from the body to the home, everything. Because we know that this will reach the right people. and it will help them when they feel they've not got anyone else. And that makes it all worthwhile. Because vulnerability is so not a weakness, unless you're stuck in the victim mentality. Showing your vulnerability with strength and courage is the most beautiful thing going. And if we have understood it right, that's what opens us up to unconditional love from others and ourselves. A period of solitude and silence each day helps us to realise that silent, listening to our bodies, stillness, our stillness, whether that's jumping up and down and dancing to some music, and compassion are who we truly are our true nature. And that compassion is far greater and more powerful than fear. When we said that thing in the psych ward on our opening video, because we were for ages trying to do an about thing for the videos and stuff, of where we said we truly unconditionally love ourselves and respect ourselves. We do already. If I want to be free, I must find the courage and the willingness to be still. Our stillness. Because the only constant is change, the atoms are always vibrating, so there's never really still in my definition. I have to look up the word to find what it means, but our current understanding of still is something that's not moving. But if you go down, everything's always moving to atomic level, even a subatomic level. Language. If I want to be free, I must find the courage and the willingness to understand that the only constant is change, and to balance and integrate that change with our heart so that we can find our unique interpretation and definition of our constantly changing stillness. And face the fear that arises when I attempt to come back to myself, to ourselves, to our unique individual expression of consciousness, even if that consciousness is expressed through one body as many different people. Welcome to the ShintoSE yoga experience, with Shinto self-empowerment, our unique personal experience that we are showing you with the fun tools for our shadow dance with life. The dark night of the ego, the dark night of the soul. Namaste. Sononi Snowflake. Take beautiful cares of yourselves, guys. Enjoy the sun if you've got it shining. Enjoy the rain if you've got it shining. Let it purify you. And enjoy the wind if it's blowing a gale. Let it blow it all away. Shh.